Hi there everyone, welcome to Creative Coloring with Erum. Today I'm sharing a vibrant floral card using the Lilac Layering Die Set and some gorgeous watercoloring techniques. This project is all about easy, stress-free watercoloring. We'll create beautiful die-cut flowers and foliage, add some ink blending and top it off with a dramatic two-toned dripping watercolor background. Let's dive in. For my project today, I will use this gorgeous Lilac Layering Die Set, and I will not use it as intended. Sometimes there is room for error and you do not have to be fussy with layers or placing elements in their right place. You will see this when I will arrange all the die cuts. I will use the watercolor paper pad 9 by 12 inches, and I have cut out 2 strips that are 3 inches wide, so they will fit in my mini blossom. Next, I will use ultraviolet brush marker refill. It will be easier for me to apply color to the entire panel. Then using the 18 size paintbrush from the round brush set, I will cover the entire panel with water. Now you can also spritz the panel using a fine mister. I'm doing this so that the watercolor spreads easily. Then I will take in the concentrated pigment and start applying the color. It doesn't have to be uniform. In fact, it's better if it's patchy. The unevenness will give us more texture. This depends on your preference how light or dark you want your flowers. I prefer to have patches of light and dark, so when I die cut all the flowers are different. Since I will watercolor the card's background too, I have to make sure the flowers are either lighter or darker than the background. If you want to give a hint of another color, add a color that is analogous to the color you are using on the color wheel. Here I'm using purple wine, and I will add this as splatters so that it is visible on some parts of the flowers. When you add this second pigment, add this according to your preference. Once I'm done adding the pink pigment, I will also add the purple pigment as splatters to add more texture. After this, I will dry the panel. For the second panel, I will use the emerald pigment and apply it similarly. I did not add any other pigment to this panel, but I realized that I had added a bit more pigment to this one and I made it darker than intended, or maybe I missed something else, which I realized later on. I'll get to it in a bit. I will dry this panel as well. So I have die cut all the floral pieces out of the purple panel and the foliage from the green panel. I'm going to use the end of the fine watercolor brush, which is rounded. You would have this or use any of the flower molding tools. I do have those, but I'm using this paintbrush because I know most of you will have them already. I will pull out my ultra sticky mat and place the die cuts on it, then apply pressure and go back and forth on the petals. You will see the petals will start curling. I'm using the size 6 brush to do this. If you do this on the opposite side of the flower, make sure your mat is clean. You can even use a softer mat with more give than the sticky mat, whatever works for you. I don't like how the leaves look because I forgot to add the splatters here. That is what I was mentioning earlier. So I will go over these again and add more pigment and texture like stippling and make them darker. They look really flat to me. So you see, texture from splatters did make a difference. I think it looks so much better compared to the other leaf. So I'm going to work on the rest of the leaves as well. Here is a tip. If you think all your flowers look the same and you want some of them to look darker or different than the other, use a detailed blending brush and ink to add a bit of pop. Here I'm using the Hydrangea Fresh Dye ink and adding it to some of the flowers to make some petals darker. Not the entire flower, only some petals. I will also use Puffy Heart Crisp Dye ink to make the pinks brighter in some areas. This is completely optional and I only did this to 3 or 4 flowers. On an A2 hot press watercolor cardstock, apply water with a size 4 round brush starting from the top portion, then adding drips according to your preference. You can hold your cardstock at an angle for the drips to flow down. Let gravity do its thing. Using the purple pigment from the Artist Watercolor 24 pan set, I will also mix this with a bit of blue that's right next to it. It's lapis lazuli, because this purple itself, it's a different shade than the purple I've used. I will have this concentrated on the top of the panel. The next color I will add is Green Meadows, slightly mixed with Seashore, and I won't overwork this pigment into the other color. Otherwise, it will turn gray. I'm just dropping this in and letting it flow. I will grab a tissue, pick up the excess, and soften some edges. Then let this dry. You can use a heat tool as well. Now I will add diluted purple splatters to the panel once it has dried. They look dark, but it's more water than pigment. Also, most of these will be covered with flowers. I will dry the panel again because it's time for black splatters. And I will add very, very fine black splatters, but a lot of them. Then I will dry the panel again. I will use glue tape to adhere the panel to a card base before I adhere all the bits to the front. I'm not following the numbers mentioned on the die cuts and packaging. I will adhere the branch die cut with glue tape to the card front and then adhere the leaves with glue tape as well so that I can move them if I don't like the positioning. I figured out how I want my flowers to be and will start picking them up individually and adhering them with glue. So here I'm using the detail blending brush to make the flower centers darker before gluing them. Later on, I used the iridescent gem sparkles and hydrangea artist alcohol marker to color them and adhere them to the flower centers, and I think that looked so much better. It added a sparkle and added something that was missing on my card. Once I was done adding the flower centers, I added splatters of white acrylic paint. You can add white gouache. I couldn't find mine. Then I added some more black splatters, and this time some bigger blobs because I was still not happy with the card. It looked like there was something missing. I also die cut a couple leaves and added those in because the layout looked odd to me. The sentiment is from Mini Delight, a floral congrats. I hope you liked my project and enjoyed the video. If you do try to create something similar using the Lilac set, we would love to see it. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
Hello there! Did that video just spark your creativity? And do you want more project ideas and inspiration videos too? Well, if you do, please make sure that you subscribe to the Altenew YouTube channel. Also, make sure that you do click that notification bell so you don't miss a video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye!